Patreon bonus episode. We've got something quite different today. So we're going to be speaking to a member, a genuine member. Trust me, he is a real startup member of the Order of Nine Angles. Many people listening to this will know what that is if you've been listening to Popular Front for a while, but if not, let me just explain. So the Order of Nine Angles, or the O9A, can probably be best described as a quasi far-right esoteric occult group. Now, they wouldn't call themselves that, I'm sure, but it is unbelievably complicated. These people believe in Satanism as in the real Satanism, not that bullshit of Church of Satan, which is just edgy atheism. These people believe Satanism should be evil, it should be dark, and it should be about the dark gods. All of this mad stuff. It's kind of like what Satanic Panic type people in the 80s thought kids believed in, but it's actually real. And I'll tell you how it's real. It's got to the point now where both Britain and America, the governments of both, are considering designating O9A as a terror group. Why? Well, many or quite a few members of Atomwaffen Division, the militant neo-Nazi group in America, they have 5 murders under their belt. Many members of them were O9A. In fact, one of the guys currently in prison, 2 of them actually, alias Rape and alias Khmer. Those 2 are both O9A adherents. They even had O9A patches on their uniforms. There's also Temple of Blood, which is a militant O9A group in the US, very heavily tied to Atomwaffen Division. The leader, Joshua Sutter, he was the leader of Temple of Blood, or is the leader of Temple of Blood. He was also one of the leading members of Atomwaffen Division. So you can see how the 2 are very much involved. Then if you look at the UK, there was National Action, a militant neo-Nazi group now prescribed as a terror organization. They were planning several terror attacks. One of their members, Ryan Fleming, he is a convicted paedophile and one of the strongest O9A adherents that there has been in this country that we know of. He ran his own like Nexion, which they call it. We'll go into all of that. He ran like his own group, his own cell. Now you might think, well, what has that got to do with it? Well, there are members of O9A that think that pedophilia is actually okay. Well, not okay. It's such a taboo that they don't mind touching it. You know, they don't mind having pedophiles within their midst. Even Atomwaffen had members that were sharing like disgusting images of that sort of stuff. So this is all linked, and now it's looking like O9A might be designated as a terror group. I don't think they will be, but it's certainly something that both the British and the US government is looking at. The Australian government is also considering it as well, from what I've been reading. So it's a serious issue. Now, one of the guys who is considered the leader of O9A is a man named David Myatt. The leader, according to O9A, is Anton Long. They say it's not Myatt. Let me tell you now, I definitely think it is. I've been researching O9A for probably 7 or 8 years. I definitely think David Myatt is Anton Long. Anton Long, he has been many things. He was a militant neo-Nazi in Britain. He was one of the most militant. He tried to do some weird project where, he wanted a little farm, I think in Essex somewhere, where only white people could live. All of this bullshit. He was tied to the Brixton nail bomber, who was a man that went about setting off nail bombs in Brixton in South London. And he did that because he was a Nazi and he hated gay people. So, David Myatt was a big piece of shit. And then David Myatt became a militant jihadist and was very much in favor of Osama bin Laden, celebrated 9/11. Then he came out of that. He stopped being a militant jihadist, and he has this new thing called like Pathos something or other. You can look it all up. He has this new kind of mystical, spiritual thing that he believes in. But this guy has been many things. Very smart guy, very dangerous guy, very weird guy in many ways. But like I said, it's all very interesting, and it's all linked to O9A, because David Myatt for a long time has been considered the leader, or at least the kind of quasi neo-founder of it, if you like, the guy that founded it in the modern era back in the 60s or 70s. And he says that he's not. He is tied to it in an unbelievable way. You'll hear in the interview. So, For years, I've been trying to actually talk to O9A people, and this guy has agreed to go on the record. We've been speaking back and forth on email for weeks now, I think months. And he's a very interesting person. You know, we did a Popular Front episode with journalist Daniel DeSimone about the O9A, and he listened to it and was like, "No, this is bullshit. You've got everything wrong." Having spoken to him, I stand by the interview completely, the episode we did. Daniel DeSimone is an excellent journalist and really did his work. I think there's some phrases that we perhaps used that were in a way inaccurate just because of how complex O9A is, but O9A could be interpreted different ways by different people. So, you know, while saying that, maybe they weren't even. Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. Now, I agreed with this guy to do the interview. I said I'll put it out, so, you know, listen to it. It's going to be a bit ropey. It was a weird one. Like, you know, I'm having to go back and forth with a guy that I disagree with completely in his beliefs, but also I want to have a rapport with him to get him to speak honestly and whatever. His English is not his first language, so there's that, you know, but I think it was an interesting interview. Now, there's going to be people that will listen to this and say, "Oh no, you shouldn't platform such a person." Let me tell you now, I'm not interested in any of that carry on. I'm not interested in that talk. When there are fucked up things going on in the world, it's my job as a journalist focused on conflict and what have you to kind of, you know, talk about this. And if I can talk to someone that's actually at the center of this and challenge them, that for me is interesting and worth doing as a journalistic endeavor. If you want to cancel me or whatever the fuck it is because of platforming, just know I absolutely do not care. Not interested in that kind of nonsense. Not interested in censorship. So there's that. And also this is relevant to Popular Front because, like I said, O9A is linked to militant groups that have tried to cause terrorism, that have planned terrorism. They want war. You know, groups that have followed O9A have gone to militant paths, if you like. So I know that's a long intro, but it's a lot to explain. Like I said, this is going to sound a bit ropey. It's going to be hard to listen to. There's stuttering, there's stopping, there's talking over each other. It's just how it is. I agree to put it out like this. And I think either way, it's definitely going to be worth your time if you're at all interested in the way militant neo-Nazis have tried to kind of merge their ideologies into other stuff, specifically the occult, which has been happening for a long time, but is happening now in a big way. Yeah, so have a listen. I hope that made sense. There's going to be bits in this that don't make sense, but I think it's still useful for anyone doing research on or interested in the militant far right here currently. Firstly, maybe you can just explain, like, you know, a little bit about who you are. You know, like, for all I know, you guys, I know you want to be anonymous, but like, you guys could be trolling me, you know, or whatever. So maybe explain
Yeah,
about, you know, you're
well,
from this bone gnawing lodge or something, right?
it's ABG Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
ABG stands for Astral Bong Knowers, among other things. But that's it, ABG Lodge. ABG Lodge started. Actually, ABG Lodge started as alchemical lodge preserving some Rosicrucian alchemical tradition, actually.
Really?
But not long after that, I met one O9A person while I was camping in our mountains here. We have beautiful mountains here. It's very popular among those
In Serbia, right?
alpinists. Serbia, Montenegro, Slovenia, this former Yugoslavian region, you know. So I met that O9A person, and we became good friends, close friends. And the next year, they were visiting. They told me about O9A tradition, and I exactly noticed that O9A tradition is very compatible in some way with our inherited tradition I mentioned, that alchemical tradition. And that is how all that started, our connection with O9A, and how the lodge started.
Right.
So, as a sort of disclaimer, I already told you I have to say that nobody is allowed to talk in the name of O9A, you know. So I can only talk in the name of ABG Lodge. I can talk about my personal experience and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Well, maybe just explain what is it that you liked about O9A? Like when this person said to you, "Yeah, well, this is O9A" or whatever. Like, what is it that stood out to you where you thought, "Hey, yeah, I want to be a part of that"?
Well, before that, I came across maybe some O9A stuff on the internet,
Mm.
but on the first sight it was, yeah, Satanism. I didn't care much about that stuff, you understand? Because for me Satanism always was a bit stupid, you know, a bit superficial in that esoteric sense. So when I got to dig more deeply into ONA manuscripts and talk with some ONA people and stuff like that, I noticed some esoteric value to it. And as we said in one of our articles, that ONA is very how to put this, very good formula of the great work, as it's called in alchemy, uh, of the process of getting philosopher's stone produced and stuff like that.
Right, right.
I think you are familiar
Yeah,
with
alchemy.
that alchemical phraseology.
Hmm. So you got so you run the ABG, right? What is it that you guys believe in? What is it that makes your lodge, unique?
Well, maybe exactly that something which is not very specific to ONA, like all that Masonic Rosicrucian stuff, maybe some symbolic leading to that, and some Christian influence. We have within the lodge we have Gnostic Church of Christ Lucifer. That is like our religious circle, you know, our religious philosophy. But maybe it would be, I don't know, maybe it's not necessary to get into all that in relation to O9A. It's something specific to the lodge, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. But what is it
But
like?
it is good example of that within the O9A there is space for anything, you know.
Hmm.
There are Christians, there are Buddhists, there are Satanists, there are all kind of people in that mystical religious sense, let's say.
Right, but Anton Long was a Satanist. I mean, he even wrote that he wanted to bring dark and evil to Satanism. Like that was his thing. I mean, I've got it here. He
Yeah,
said,
he wanted to add something to Satanism, but O9A never was Satanist, never was Satanist or left hand path, but just used those forms like experiences for their initiates, you know. O9A is sinisterly numinous tradition, so one part of that path is sinister, the other is numinous. One path one path requires some dark experiences, some hard experiences, and the other part of the path requires some numinous experiences, some experiences of something more light. You understand?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you even have, to be what is, I've read, an external adept. The sevenfold way says that you have to commit a human sacrifice. And Mayat has even said himself, like, I have no desire to give Satanism a good name. On the contrary, I wish to be seen or understand it to be really dangerous.
Well, yes,
Hundreds of
like Mayat said in that interview with Nick Lawless,
yeah,
uh, it, uh, it's rhetoric mainly, showing extreme of what that Satanism should be, you know. Yeah,
right.
and in many ONA manuscripts, it's advised that sacrifice, that calling is not for everyone. It should be judged by by your insight into yourself.
Mm,
Is it for you or is it not? What experiences exactly are for you, or uh, those stuff in ONA manuscripts are only examples. You understand?
mm,
You have to think for yourself what experiences are needed in your life. Uh, the one of the main practices within the online air is insight roles, and this is also controversial and also often put in wrong context, because insight roles, it is practice in which you try to live your opposite. You understand?
mm,
Like,
mm.
if you are too aggressive, if you are like that, you then have to be like a monk or something. You have to live in a monastery or do inside role like that. You
But it
understand?
says
Or
it says
or
in
if
now.
you are too peaceful, then you join some extreme
Yeah.
organization, be violent. You know, it's
But
all part of
but
that alchemical
infiltration though,
work.
like it says in, I've read some O9A books, and it says that the goal is specifically of an insight role is also like infiltration, right? Like kind of get in there without them knowing.
Yeah, infiltration,
Yeah.
but infiltration also in that context of your personal experience.
Mm, mm.
To infiltrate somewhere and to manage to influence dynamics within some organization or whatever. you know
Yeah. Well, let's talk about then. So you were quite annoyed with an episode that I did with journalist Daniel D. Simone. He was talking about the O9A and the links that you guys have to, militant Nazi groups. I mean, even on your website, you have a massive swastika. Like so you guys were
well,
quite annoyed
swastika,
about it, right?
you know that it's suffers to talk about it, but swastika is ancient symbol.
Right, but that's no. This isn't an ancient symbol. This isn't. I mean, I'm literally looking on your website now, and on the media page, you have a picture of Hitler, and it says that he is what is it? How do you Agios Vindex? You know what I mean?
Index, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Yes.
So anyway, so you had a lot of you're kind of there's a lot of things that you want to address, right? You said that there was things that are wrong.
Yes,
I've said to you I don't
exactly,
think they are
exactly.
wrong.
Those that kind of misconceptions.
So let's talk about it then.
Like ONA, like ONA is neo-Nazi. It's neo-Nazi organization, and the thing is that I think once we exchanged some emails before this, and I think that one of them I told you that if it happened that National Socialism won the Second World War, then the ONA would be ones to promote democracy, to promote stuff like that, and to fight for that. ONA tries to be that antithesis in society. That's the whole point on that political and religious levels.
So
And
you're happy to
this
be
is why in the essence ONA is not neo-Nazi. It just uses that neo-Nazi ideology, terminology, iconography to provoke certain things within society, within consciousness of initiate, who has to put himself in opposition to the system. And there is no greater heresy in the system today than National Socialism and radical Islam. So those are two forms that ONA uses to produce certain.
right. Well, maybe then let me ask you this then. So imagine somehow the O9A ruled the world. What kind of world will we be living in? Like, what do you actually want?
Well, there is in era, I think one manuscript written by Christus Beast. There is written that if that happens, if that happens, that our ideas and ideals happens to rule the world, we must be opposition to it. And that's the whole thing. Nothing so sinister in that sense, Simply, National Socialism is the greatest heresy in the system. So is radical Islam. So ONA choose to.
That's literally Bart Simpson ideology. Oh, bad. Come on, man. I've read the
No,
books.
no.
There's more to it than this, you know?
Well, that is only one level of it. There is more to it. I don't know. It all depends on you.
Like, do you believe in actual, like, what? Who do you pray to? Demons? Satan?
No, there is no actual praying to demons, Satan, that demonology stuff. Especially in our case, especially in my case, I am a Christian. I really am a Christian. I consider myself to be a Christian.
But
And
in the books, though, in the books like Naos, like which I've read, that would make you a mundane. So how does that make sense?
I don't belong to some. I already told you we have our Gnostic Church of Christ Lucifer. That is our interpretation of Christianity, which is not mainstream interpretation of Christianity, but maybe a bit ONA interpretation of Christianity and something like Savitri Devi and stuff like that.
Yeah, she was a Nazi herself, like an actual
Yes,
one.
she was a Nazi, but also Nazis were something beyond. They were trying to accomplish something beyond that politics, religion.
Right. So what else is it you think that we got wrong in the podcast that we did? So you think, you're trying to say, right, you have nothing to do with Nazism.
Well, in this
I mean, there's
sense,
a
we
picture of
we
Hitler.
have nothing to do with Nazism, and I don't know. I think that is very clear from what I said.
The thing is, though, a lot of these new militant neo-Nazi groups, specifically ones that I've investigated, so Atomwaffen Division and another one called Sonnenkrieg Division, they have O9A adherents and they are openly, militantly neo-Nazi. They've murdered people. And not once did O9A come out and say, hey, you shouldn't be using our name to do this,
This is why this is because O9A is trying to be a philosophy, a way of life. You understand? This is why also in one of the mails I compared it to the Islam, and I also like to compare it to the Islam, because Islam is also a way of life. It's not a religion like Christianity. It's not so. There's no hierarchy within it in that way. You if you want to be a Muslim, you have to abide to certain principles, certain practices, and that's it. You don't need approval from anyone within Islam. You understand? To
So
tell
then
you
what do
are
you abide
you,
by?
you
Like,
are you are accepted by some groups or not accepted, and that's it. And also within O9A, there are some groups who have their own interpretation of O9A. They are extremists, like within Islam is Daesh or something like that.
mm,
And there are people who can tell about Daesh within Islam, who can tell that they are wrong, they get it wrong, but no one can tell them they are not Muslims, in that formal sense.
right, but
You
Islam is
understand?
ancient and there are millions, I think 6 million.
Okay, so
It's
O9A
very different.
has something ancient within it, and even if not, it will be ancient one day. You know what I mean?
Right. But I still
Islam
don't I
was
still don't
was young
understand.
one.
Like, what do you actually believe in? Like, if someone said to you, what is O9A? I don't get it. Like, for me,
There,
it's,
there is no belief.
but
That's the
there's
point. There is no
200.
belief.
There is though. There's over 200 PDFs on your website with hundreds of thousands of words written about the O9A. Like, it's not vague. It's not a vague thing at all. There are very
Okay, but it's not about belief primarily. It's more about, like I said previously, about principles, about way of life, about those things. As I said, there are Buddhists within O9A, Satanists, Christians, who knows what,
but there is
not else. The- and all of them abide to certain principles and certain ways of life, and maybe practice this or that, and that makes them O9A. Like I again compare it with Islam. Like in Islam, you have to do self initiation. You have to tell Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, etc. And you are a Muslim. And after that, you have to abide to certain practices and principles, and that's it. And that's the
give me an
O9A
example.
essentially.
Yeah, well, give me an example of a practice that someone would have to abide by to be considered O9A. Like, what would you have to do to be? If I said tomorrow I want to be O9A, I mean, what's the first thing how do I need to start living?
Well, as I said, there are some practices, and there are three O9A ways: Sevenfold Way, Drakian Way, and Ronrita Way. And those are three ways, and you can practice some of those three ways in part or in whole. But you have to abide to the code of kindred honor, and that code of kindred honor is attached to many O9A manuscripts. You came across it certainly,
Mm.
and those are two things which makes you O9A essentially.
Right, but what's okay then? So say I'm going to follow the sevenfold way. What do I have to do?
Well, you have to do certain great rituals, like those described in Naos. You read it as
Yeah.
as I
So I've read
understand.
Naos, right? And everything I understand what you're saying completely, by the way. Like, I do understand, like, you don't have to be a specific religion to be within O9A. It's kind of an umbrella for a certain set of beliefs. However, all of the literature that I've read, it all talks about Satanism and dark and sinister. There is nothing in there that says, oh, it's cool to be a Christian,
No,
cool to
no,
be a
it's
Muslim.
not like that. You read everything on INA, really?
No, not
No,
everything. I'm
no,
saying
it's
everything that
not.
I've read, it is that way. I'm not saying I've read everything. Jesus, it would take me a lifetime. What I mean is everything. I've never seen anything. It's all linked. It's about human sacrifices. It's about basically fucking
No, no,
people
it's
over.
really tiny portion of on INA corpus, really.
Right, but
tiny
it's not tiny. That's
portion human
insane. That's
sacrifice,
huge.
and
What are you gonna do? You're gonna like has that ever actually happened? Like, has anyone in O9A actually sacrificed anyone as a human? I doubt it.
it would be ridiculous to tell you it is true or it is not true,
Not
but
really. I mean, any normal
I will
person would say
remind you
no.
again of that it's mostly rhetoric.
It's
It's
not
mostly
though. It's not.
rhetoric. It's
It's literally
mostly,
in the rule book. It's literally in one of the rule books that to become. I've got it here, man. I've done my research. Like to become an external adept,
but
you have to murder someone, and
also
that is a part of the
in
sevenfold way.
those manuscripts you also have things like that sacrifice is not only taking someone's life but taking someone's property in some way, ruining his life in many ways,
Why would you want
or
to do that to somebody?
something like that, to advance some of your goals or whatever, to experience that you can manipulate some things in society by influencing some people in that way.
And when they say human sacrifice, who sacrificing to who?
Well, it's rarely when it's talked about, it's rarely talked about in that ceremonial setting, ritual setting. You understand?
Yeah, but who would be if you
It's
sacrifice? It's for a reason. If you sacrifice a goat in Islam,
it's
it's for Allah.
for a reason. It's for a reason of just culling the herd, like getting rid of people who are evolutionary by their nature, by their way of life, and that's the one thing that also annoyed me with your guests,
Mm.
who also were trying to say that ONA is only that, like violence, like rape, pedophilia, things like that.
Mm.
And in ONA manuscripts, those people like that are offers, are candidates for sacrifice. You understand?
I understand. However, you did also say that O9A likes to promote the taboo. So you said the only reason that you guys use Nazi symbology is because Nazism is so disgusting to normal society, which would be mundanes. Pedophilia is even more disgusting to normal society than
But
Nazism.
pedophilia, how can you compare pedophilia and National Socialism?
Because
It's
you say
politics and sexual deviation.
right. So why is it that
You
it's
cannot mix those two, like
you guys do?
in that way.
You have a pedophile problem. There's a huge pedophile problem within the Order of Nine Angles. So
Huge.
O9
In what way
adherents.
huge?
So
In what way
okay, I'll give you
huge?
some examples. So
Ryan Fleming. Yeah.
yeah, Ryan Fleming was in National Action. He's a neo-Nazi and a big fan of O9A and adherent. He has his own Nexion. He's been promoted by a lot of other O9A Nexions. They have never once said anything publicly about that. He's a pedophile. He's currently in prison for pedophile. Atomwaffen Division, members of them, neo-Nazis and members of O9A had their own Nexion. They were sharing child pedophilia images. And now the Sonnenkrieg Division, the British neo-Nazi group, who their main members that supported O9A were getting young girls to cut themselves and send them images. Like, do you know what I mean? There's three groups there that all have O9A,
I know what
and they
you
have
mean,
pedophile problems.
and it can be that there are some groups out there, or some individuals who think that is taboo, that should be overcrossed in order for him to evolve or whatever he did.
Right, that's what they were
But
saying. They interpreted your texts as saying like the ultimate taboo is to abuse
but
children.
in no O9A text that is advocated, no, in no text that is O9A that you can find that.
That is true.
No way.
However, in the Bible, it doesn't say to rape kids, and the Catholic Church does it all the time. You know what I'm saying?
They really have a huge problem. But you
They
are
really
saying
do, yeah.
you are saying O9A is having a huge problem, and Ryan Fleming, and that's period. Who
No,
else?
there's three groups.
Where else?
I
What
just
else?
told you. There's three groups.
And
Every single O9A group that is linked to Nazism.
again, what I told you about calling sacrifice, all that rhetoric, and I don't know, they're advocating pedophilia. Maybe that's their rhetoric. Maybe they are doing something. I don't know. That's for the police to investigate.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
end,
But what I'm
you
saying is,
know.
there's only been in the last 10 years in England, there's been two militant groups that have members of O9A, or at least people that, adhere to the sevenfold way. And in both of those groups, there have been pedophiles, not just one, several. And then there's the biggest, militant neo-Nazi group in the last 5 years in America. Their O9A followers are also pedophiles. So what I mean is, I'm not saying you guys are all pedophiles. What I'm saying is, whoever these people,
Yes,
they're interpreting it as a way that it's okay.
like you said, Catholic Church has a huge problem with that, and nowhere in the Bible that
Yeah, but the Catholic Church has
mentions.
condemned pedophile priests. O9A has never condemned publicly pedophile O9A
There
people.
is no one who can speak in the name of
What
O9A.
about Anton Long?
I can personally condemn it. I can.
But do you not think that, Anton Long, the kind of, I guess, the quasi leader, I mean, he writes a lot, he could at least mention it and say, hey, pack that up, man.
Well, there is a lot of online articles referring to that subject, and I don't know, maybe I should send you some.
Yeah, please
Maybe
do.
I should send you some before this, but
One
there
thing
is a lot articles dealing with this subject, and
written by
why
Anton
it is
Long.
not true. Well, Anton Long, he retired from O9A, and he mainly spoke
Okay.
about esoteric subjects, not some.
So let's talk about Anton Long, man. So, we spoke on emails and you said that Anton Long is not David Mayat, right? You said that he's not David Mayat. I disagree.
Well,
I
you asked me why we published that recording
yeah, that's
of
right. Yeah.
interview with him and Nick Lowe's.
Yeah. Why did you?
And we told you because we were listening to it, and we all felt that maybe some people will feel that he is very sincere on some subjects,
But to
like
me, it's absolutely.
we are not
Sorry.
denying we are not denying he was involved
Yeah.
in a way, like he knew some people and maybe cooperating with them on that philosophical level, and maybe on criminal level. Who knows? I don't know such details.
Well, he's been
And
David Meyer has been involved from. Sorry, go on.
but he really tries to be sincere with Nicholas on some subjects, because he appreciated, as he told him in that interview, that he was a man enough to approach him and
Yeah.
directly ask him those questions, and he told him that he gave his word to some people that he will not reveal their identities to no one, and he lives by his word, and this is why. But he hinted at who might real Anton Long be, that well established academic on prestigious university, Mayat mentioned in that conversation. And Nick was like his prosecutor, you know. Nick was very aggressive, very pushy, and Mayat was trying calmly to answer his questions as sincerely as he could. I think. So
I
Mayat was involved with O9A. Obviously, he was good friends with Richard Nolte, who was Christos Beast of the O9A, was the outer representative of the O9A.
Well, I just to be honest with you, I think I don't know what you believe. I don't think you're lying, but I think Maya is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, Anton Long, and I think he's definitely
No,
lying.
Mayat definitely borrowed some ideas. Definitely, some of his writings were signed Anton Long. You understand?
Well, let me ask you this: on your website.
But so I certainly I know for sure that some other people were also signing their articles Anton Long.
Mm.
You know,
Well, on
and
the official
and
O9A website.
Anton Long became some kind of egregore, as they will say in occult circles. You know,
Like
egregore,
I
like
don't forget.
intelligence of the order, like some entity.
Yeah.
You know.
But this is what's confused me, right? So on the official Order of Nine Angles website, O9A.org, on January 1st, 2021, there's an article and it's a piece about David Maya. It's saying he's 70 years old. And throughout the article, it refers to him as David Maya / Anton Long. And then it says, oh, we have to move
Yes,
forward.
yes,
Why is
yes,
that?
yes, yes. There is a great agenda within the O9A to conceal the identity of Anton Long, and Mayat, being friends with Anton Long, he offered himself to be sacrificed in that way, to have some inconveniences in his life, because he is considered to be Anton Long, you know. Because also David Mamet, maybe he had some complex of inferiority, you know, because of lack of his academic titles. You understand?
Mm.
Because David Mamet is so intellectual all the time. You know, he likes to hang out with professors, with academics, that kind of people.
He's in Australia right now. Huh?
To dwell into philosophy, I don't know really.
Are you sure? Okay, I mean, honestly, man, like I've looked at it, and the thing that really strikes me, let me just read this to you.
Just let me finish this.
Sure,
I
sorry, go
just
on.
wanted to tell you that Mayat having that complex of inferiority in comparison
Yeah.
to real Anton Long, he offered himself to be decoy. You understand? So that constantly. Writing of Chloe, for example, like DM, EL, AL, you know, like they admire Anton Long. She's also making a decoy, you understand? There are examples like that. There is one old sinister tale written by Christos Beast, where he is talking about a guy who is, it's like a sci-fi story. It's about a guy who is like stepping on a new planet that will be colonized, and he is holding a skull
Yeah.
of his grandmaster, which is with ginger beard and stuff like that. And that, to me, that was always too obvious to over decoy. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that really got me, so in the O9A booklet, the occult tradition of the O9A, Anton Long writes, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he says, our duty as individuals who live by the code of kindred honor is to settle our serious disputes among ourselves by either trial by combat or by a duel involving deadly weapons, challenging to a duel any mundane, blah, blah. And then Myatt wrote on his own personal, one of his own blogs, he wrote that his personal honor will be defended by anyone because he will challenge them to a duel with weapons. He even challenges Nick Lowles to a duel with weapons in that interview. Like,
well, as I said,
things, you know?
David Mamet shares many ideas with Anton Long. They are friends.
He's copying, kind of.
Yes, and that's the essence of it. But there are also many other people who might be living by that kind of code and who don't know about O9A or David Mamet. He doesn't speak with journalists for decades now, I think.
One thing I want to ask, I'm not like this has actually confused me. I've been trying to work a lot of the O9A stuff out. Agios Vindex, what actually is that? I'm still confused. I don't get what it is.
Agios Vindex is one of the O9A chants. Like, there are those magical chants within the sevenfold way you use to get attuned with certain energies. You know, like any chants in any mystical tradition, like mantras, like Orthodox chants. I am, by the way, Orthodox in the way I was born in Orthodox country and was in Orthodox church all my life.
So why on your website is Hitler? There's a picture of Hitler and it says, quote, Agios Vindex.
In a way, it's equated with that energy of Vindex. Vindex is like that energy of rebellion. Vindex is like some sort of messiah to come, Kalki in Hindu tradition, which is also connected to Savitri Devi and her writings on Hitler. And
so do you guys believe in
lightning and the sun?
Like, do you believe in the concept of Satan?
Well, some of us do in different ways. As I already mentioned, we have that within the lodge. We have that Gnostic Church of Christ Lucifer. We see, as name says, we see Christ and Lucifer as the same entity, same being. You understand? And on the other hand, we see Satan and Jehovah as same entity, as the one being. And those two are like two faces of the one God, nameless God. That's the basic theology of that.
So you do have a God, a nameless God?
No, well, we don't. We just try to create one of those religious mystical forms within this tradition, you know, within the lodge, specifically not so specially tied to O9A directly, you know.
Right.
Maybe inspired in some part.
Right. And so do you follow the sevenfold way yourself?
Yes, I do, and there are also those who don't follow sevenfold way. Within the lodge, we have also our initiatory system, which is divided in 3 degrees of initiation, and it is a bit different in comparison with the O9A. It is attuned to that alchemical tradition we inherited. I taught in the start of this conversation.
Yes.
Those three grades of initiation are initiate, illuminate, and adept. The work of initiate is work with seven metals and their transmutations. And those seven metals are for example, akin to that tree of weird in O9A philosophy, with seven spheres.
Mm-hmm.
Spheres. The work of illuminate is to find universal medicine, universal cure, and that is the field of politics, of religion, philosophy, on that social level, because we are mainly talking about that level.
Mm.
So the work of the adept is to produce the philosopher's stone, and that will be a bit complex to elaborate now.
Yeah, it sounds.
But it's compatible with O9A in many ways.
How so?
This system of initiation and this work. Well, I told you, for example, that level of initiate, which is considered with transmutations of seven metals.
Mm.
You read now there is those three of weird, those seven spheres. There are those seven metals actually.
Right, but alchemy. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, as far as I'm aware, alchemy is not real. Like, it's never been proven. Are you saying that you guys?
In what way you think alchemy is not real? What
I don't
do
know,
you
man.
mean by that?
What are you actually? You saying like you do transmutation? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Well,
Like,
I just told you it is considered with transmutations of metals, but those metals are also those spheres of the tree of weird you read
yeah,
about in the Neos. You understand?
yeah, yeah.
And those seven spheres are seven zillion different things. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Alchemy is about those principles behind things, not about things, not about metals, not about
So it's not physical.
spheres, not about. No, it's not only not physical, not conceptual in that sense.
Mm.
Number, space, gender, whatever in the world.
It's really hard to understand for someone that, like me. Like, I've done a bit of research, of course, but I'm not like involved. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to understand it all. What level are you at in the sevenfold way? Like what? There's different levels to it. Where are you?
Well, in classical sevenfold way, I'm not very high. I tried and failed internal adept. Right? I see it like that.
How did you fail?
Well, that is very complex story, but it will be published soon on ABG Lodge.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll ever be an external adept?
External adept is lower grade than internal adept.
Okay. Sorry.
I already.
Yeah. So you've killed someone then. You've sacrificed someone. That's what you would have to do to be an external adept, my friend.
And I eat little babies.
Seriously, though, it says in the book, if you want to be an external adept, you have to take part in a culling. No comment.
No comment. I don't know. Right. I already tried to explain what cooling is.
Yeah, I know, but that's your interpretation. I think, as O9A says itself, there are different interpretations.
Well, it's ridiculous if I tell you, okay, I did it.
No, I know.
I didn't.
I know, of course. I know no one would say that. That'd have to be insane, but I got to ask, you know what I'm saying? You never know. One thing that really interests me is the star game. Like, it looks so unbelievably complicated. Have you played that?
Yeah, I
Must
did
have,
play
yeah.
it with some of my friends here.
What is that?
Yes, it is complex. It is, well, it can be just a game, you know, it can be played like a game of chess,
Mm,
something like that, but it also can be used to express some ideas you cannot express precisely enough on this abstract level. Uh, let's get back a bit when I talked about those metals, those
sure.
spheres, those 7 zillion things, you know, and by those combinations of those symbols of alchemical salt, sulfur, and mercury, you can communicate different things, not only between yourselves, but communicate those things to your subconscious, to the dark gods, to the cosmos, to
Mm.
whatever. That is also a magical technique, you understand, like those O9A chants we mentioned before, Agios of Index.
Yeah. Dark gods, you say?
So,
What, like Cthulhu? Like what dark gods?
well, dark gods are also can be seen as those alchemical symbols. You know, we mentioned 7 spheres of the Tree of Fear, and those 7 spheres are interconnected with three paths which are connected with that one sphere, which is 21 paths between spheres, and there are 21 dark gods. Those dark gods are actually those alchemical principles used in Stargame. Those sulfur, and mercury we mentioned.
Mm.
Those are three symbols used in Stargame, and those are the salt, the mercury, and the sulfur of the given sphere. Those three dark gods connected with the given sphere. You understand?
Yeah.
Symbolic.
And
So
so
you can see dark gods are those alchemical principles, among other things.
right, so it's not like, some god with a name or whatever that you pray to.
Well, some can see it like that if
Okay.
that helps them as a form of meditation to get connected
Uh,
to that meaning. You
yeah.
understand? All the dark gods have a sigil, have some imagery connected to them, some tarot cards and stuff like that, and that all helps you to get connected with the deeper meaning which is behind all of that. And maybe sometimes if someone is having a devotional approach toward those dark gods, it is helpful in that meditational way to get them to know those dark gods in more a causal way. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. That's interesting. Maybe just explain to me this idea of mundanes. Like, what is that?
Well, well, well. That is something which is typical for all the orders, secret societies, tradition, mystical traditions. You know, you always have that exclusivity. You know,
Mm, mm.
that is specific to any human endeavor. You know,
Yeah, yeah. It's like
being it,
non-believers then.
yeah, being it football club, you know, you have also in football clubs non-believers
Mm,
for those fans of different football clubs, you know. It's nothing more than that, I think, and it's inherited in O9A from the Temple of the Sun and groups like that who predated O9A, because O9A began with merging of those three different groups back in the 60s, 70s. Temple of the Sun, Noctulians, and Camelot.
What's a Noctulian?
Noctulian is like some vampiric entity, let's say. It's from Noctulius. Noctulius is one of those dark gods within the O9A traditions.
Okay. Man, it's so complex. Like some people say to me, like, "Oh, there's no point in
we mentioned before those three O9A ways, the Sevenfold Way, Drakian Way, and this Ronvita Way, and those are actually connected with those groups who predated O9A, who merged to become O9A.
So who decided
Temple of the Sun is connected with Sevenfold Way ceremonies, Black Book of Satan, and stuff like that. Noctulians are like Drakians and Balobians and those kind of people, and Ronvita Way is Camelot, obviously.
Who decided to merge them?
Well, actually, that mergence was a process. I believe. I don't think it was a decision. Like it was a process. It was few close people who were involved in all of that stuff who simply merged.
Sure.
And that is one side of that acausal magic of Order of Nine Angles. It is not burdened with some formalities, with hierarchy, with stuff like that. It's very close kin, you know. It's very tribal in a way. It's all about close friends doing their shit, and that's about it.
Okay, let's talk about this situation where Britain and also America now are considering prescribing Order of Nine Angles as a terror group. What do you think about that?
Well, in the light of everything we said previously, it's really dumb and stupid and nonsensical, because it's like prescribing Islam now because there are Daesh and those extremist groups. You understand? And or banning Christianity because church was behind so many crimes. We all know that.
I think
it's ridiculous. It's a philosophy. It's philosophy. It's a way of life. It's ridiculous to ban something like that, and it's something somehow nightmarish feeling. You know, like you cannot tell anyone how. No matter how loud you try to tell it, you cannot tell anyone around you. It's stupid, fucking stupid.
But I think the argument is from the authorities. They're saying, you know, we've found 3, 4, maybe 4 different neo-Nazi groups who have committed terror or have planned to, and each one of them, a part of it, they were following O9A doctrine. You know, like that's why I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong.
What it means they were following O9A philosophy. So they maybe find among their PDF library something from O9A or find sigil or.
It's a bit more than that. For example, the leader of Atomwaffen, he said that he was a member of O9A, you know, and he even wore O9A patches. And then they were also linked to that other group, Temple of Blood, which are one of the longest running groups that say they're O9A in the US. And them lot are very fucked up. You know, they wrote a book, Iron Gates, which talks about sacrificing children and rape and stuff like that, and all these groups were connected.
Well, let's say let's say that there are actually two factions within O9A
Yeah,
in that sense. Temple of Blood and their spawns and their influence,
you know about them,
and
right?
some other connections like Temple of Them, Y Star Reception. Like those are more progressive, more moderate
Mm.
in a sense.
Do you what do you think of Temple of Blood? Like, what do you think about them?
Well, again, that line, so much of it is rhetoric. When it comes to leaders of Temple of Blood, to that inner circle, but they inspire some real consequences,
Yeah, they fucked you guys.
obviously, because I don't think they are what I think they understand in the way I described it to you previously. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so the leader of Temple of Blood, though, he was actually
But they think
Orphan.
this world maybe need more sinister stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's into all that.
That's it, yeah. But by your own admission, no one can say that someone else isn't O9A. So Temple of Blood, who, like I said, wrote a book about murdering babies and raping women, and this Atomwaffen, this Nazi group that they made Iron Gates, this book, they made it compulsory reading. They are O9A. Because like you said, you can't say they're not, because they say they are and they believe in it.
I am saying Temple of Blood are O9A. But
Right,
all
and
those groups who are inspired by Iron Gates and stuff like that, they are just inspired. You have.
But they're not. They said their
You
own
have to this day you have some kids who say they are Telemites, and they are inspired by Crowley, and they kill cats and kids and people and do nasty things like that. You understand?
Yeah, but you just said Temple of Blood is O9A, right? The leader of Temple of Blood was in Atomwaffen division. That's proof. I've done the work. I'm the guy that investigated them. That's without a doubt 100% proof. There's a photo of him stood next to the other leaders of Atomwaffen doing a Nazi salute in Las Vegas. So the leader of Temple of Blood is also a leader of Atomwaffen. So Atomwaffen is O9A.
Honestly, I cannot tell for sure because there are few years I lost every contact with leader of Temple of Blood.
His name's Joshua.
Yes, Joshua.
Well, you should hit him up.
Because we exactly because some of these differences, let's say.
Okay,
and all of that mess led pretty much to those motions of banning and outlawing O9A and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely think that's true. So would you say then, I mean, like I said, everyone says O9A is a part of a militant neo-Nazi esoteric group. Are you saying you're not a Nazi, you're not a militant or whatever?
Well, not. I'm Christian.
Right, but someone can be Christian and a Nazi, a neo-Nazi in these days,
Well, you want to say that there were not Christians who were Nazis or something like that. We have some articles on our website where we explain our attitude towards National Socialism in detail. Okay. So I would address anyone interested.
Cool. How big would you say O9A is? Do you even know? Does anyone know?
Well, some academics approximately says it's about 2,000, 3,000, but in the broadest way
Yeah.
possible.
How do you guys communicate? Like, do you communicate with other Nexians? Do you just do it all online or what?
Star game.
You play the Star game together?
You use the star game in various ways.
Ah, okay. Like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, the O9A is, as you said, very complex, very complex, and this is also one of the reasons why people see O9A very superficially, you know, like some political or sectarian thing or some cult, or it's again more than that. It is really a way of life. It is really a philosophy, but maybe because some influences of some interpretations like those we mentioned a minute ago, O9A is perceived as something spooky, you know, and also thanks to some journalists, of course, who didn't bother to dwell deep into O9A, into subject, but only use those sensational stuff, you know.
I mean, it's pretty sensational, mate. You have a bit about murdering people. There's a thing in the things that say you can cull people. So, you know,
Well,
you have to understand why.
Again, comparison with Islam. There are verses in Quran. There are hadiths by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to kill infidels, to kill.
Yeah, and that's insane.
You know?
That's terrible as well. That's like the bad.
But no one is talking about banning Islam or.
Oh, but they're on about banning
You know?
all the extremist cells of, you know.
Okay, ban extremists. You know, all that stuff. Even culling, even sacrifice, whatever. It's as I said in the start of the conversation. It's up to you to decide what is for you, what is not.
So murder.
No holding hands, you know. No, it's only mentioned as the most extreme experience you can have in that sinister part of the path. You understand?
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide what. Maybe you can do something extremely more evil than that. It's up to you. Things to be things. He wants things to be things. He wants humans to be humans. This is why I told you that there is space. There is space within O9A for everything, for everyone, for anything. You know.
If I come and meet you guys, you got to promise not to cull me, right?
Of course, we are very polite people and very hospitable people, and we do it only once in certain number of years. So.
Do what? Sorry, the culling.
Yeah.
How often?
Certain number of years.
Like midsummer. I'm gonna let you go there. I've got to go, but that was very interesting.
Yeah, cheers.